Now, in our previous video, we mentioned something about forming and sound. The words I produce from my understanding and my synthesis are all soundy, aren't they? I form them, but from what? My perception. As you listen to me, you weigh up against your own references and associations. That is to say, your own cognition or your self-awareness. The plausibility of what I'm saying. In other words, you are forming a judgment. Forming. Perceiving and forming is one and the same thing. Some of our perceptions or cognitions are forming exceedingly fast. Swift is a word that I use, and in antiquity, Aristotle used the word instantaneous forming. There is neither forming perception nor an idea forming without knowledge or a certain form of awareness, knowing, or life experience. We've already said that knowledge is the bedrock of our perception. Self-knowledge is the bedrock of our understanding. It underlies and governs, controls our understanding. If we think about our perception, then what we have really said is that knowledge itself is the governor of every perceiving, forming unity of every frame of reference. Knowledge is the forming foundation of all perceivers, of all frames of reference, and of all cognition. The known governs understanding itself. Understanding is perception forming and is formative of all judgment. What is a judgment? It is a conclusion that I reach from all the sensible inputs and from everything that I've learned. Learning is an enriching experience because it places us in a better position to make better decisions. There is therefore a connection between what I learning, active learning, I call this active life learning, the knowledge I learn from other people and their deep works makes of me a better perceiver and enriches my mind and my soul. So the WordiVerse essentially is on forming, on the idea of forming the formative and knowledge. The formative, we hold that the formative cannot form without a certain knowledge. Again, knowledge is fundamental to our understanding of ourselves and of the world that we treat of in the form of operations of the universe. The known is the bedrock of all understanding. But is the known not life and experience as we experience it right now? This is all the whole sum of my knowing at this very moment. But if this is the case, then we admit that neither life nor knowing or cognition forms and is formed without knowledge. May we not now say that living knowledge is the internal pillar that supports the complex unity of the frame of reference of every perceiver? Living knowledge, forming. This is a point that is for pondering, because we are not the only living things. We know that plants live, that the world is alive, the earth, Mother Earth is living, nurturing, bringing seeds to life. But living knowledge, the word is dead. Living knowledge, the internal pillar. Where is internal? And what is mean with a pillar? A pillar is a very strong structure that has the capability of holding very massive perpendicular forces in place. Which is why when you visit our high institutions, such as, for example, MIT in Boston, and you walk into the foyer, there is these giant pillars that goes all the way up to heaven. It's a sign of power. Hopefully intellectual power. Likewise, our judicial structures use pillars as a sign of strength and steadfastness. So knowledge, living knowledge itself, is the internal pillar that supports the complex unity of every perceiver. We'll think about this for the next week. Until then, be kind and loving to each other.